Hello and welcome to this Coram Bath podcast. I'm here in conversation with Matt from Proud to be Parents. Matt is going to introduce himself in a moment. My name's Emma Fincham. I'm fostering consultant in the policy research and development team at Coram Bath. And I am really delighted to be having this conversation today with Matt, especially as we're doing this during the month of Pride. We're going to have a conversation about the experiences of being an LGBTQ plus foster carer, what that's like, some of the things that are working well, some of the things that perhaps are not working so well for this community. And we're going to think as well about how we can improve practice. So we're going to go through a series of questions and have a conversation. And I'll hand over to you, Matt, now, so you can introduce yourself properly.
Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Taylor Roberts. I'm the founder and managing director of Proud to be Parents. Proud to be Parents is an organisation that supports LGBT plus parents and carers and their children across Greater Manchester. But some of our work is national in terms of policy change and advocacy for LGBT plus individuals, LGBT plus parents and carers, and wanting to ensure that their experiences are ever evolving and ever changing within the world that we live in today. And it's really nice to see you all.
Thank you, Matt. We have done some work together before with Proud to be Parents, which if you look on our website, you'll be able to see some recordings of some previous webinars and sessions that we've done. So this is an ongoing partnership work just really pleased to be able to do this with you. So thank you, Matt, for introducing yourself. I'll get started now on the questions so we can start the conversation.
Cool.
So if you are happy to please share with us a bit of your journey about being an LGBTQ plus foster carer. If you're happy to kind of share some of your personal experiences with us about how that's been for you and your partner.
Yeah, of course. So I've worked in the arena of LGBT plus parenting caring for over 18 years, as I said, founding Proud to be Parents all that time ago. So I've had a bit of an eye opener around obviously the experiences of our community. And then back in 2015, I started working for an IFA as an independent panel member. That gave me a real eye-opener into the world of fostering and what it was like for many LGBT foster carers or foster carers in general, and what their experiences were, because they would come to us obviously for approval and then obviously come back for their annual review. So we got to see the foster carers over that time. And it definitely inspired me to start thinking about becoming a foster carer ourselves. So back in 2000 and what is it now, 19? I always get confused. The pandemic just throws me completely. So back in 2019, just before the pandemic hit, we was approved as foster carers, and then we had our first placement during the first lockdown. So over the years, we've learned a lot about the fostering system and how it works and all the challenges that come with it. Being a gay male foster carers, we often face scrutiny about our ability to care for children, especially those who are a different gender to ourselves. And at the moment, we have a girl and a boy in placement with us, and they've been with us for 4 years, and it's just moved into permanency. So we've dealt with many microaggressions and some outdated views, which we try and obviously educate people, educate social workers, IROs, head teachers of the virtual schools, etc., and try and support change. But honestly, sometimes it just feels like you just want to get on with your job without all the extra hassle of having to explain and support learnings and changes. And it feels like gender roles are often the biggest topic of discussion. As an LGBT foster carer, me and my partner often find ourselves right in the middle of it, dealing with the complexities of fostering trauma behaviors, attachment issues, but also facing questions about how we can care for a child of a different gender. And our experiences show that we really need to rethink like that idea of traditional gender roles. Caregiving should really be about understanding, providing care, creating like a space that's safe and it's nurturing. And gender shouldn't really matter. It shouldn't become part of the discussion. One of the biggest challenges that we face is all the assumptions about how we can care for a girl that's in placement with us. People often ask us, well, who does her hair? How does she have girly time? Who paints her nails? Who picks her clothes? Who plays with her dolls with her? And these questions are just like really rooted in old-fashioned gender stereotypes. And so that's one of the things that we come across quite a lot and that we try and advocate for change. So, as foster carers, our journeys are often filled with navigating trauma behaviors and attachment difficulties, as well as these gender stereotypes. And, the most important thing really is about their emotional well-being, and trying to create a safe environment for them to thrive.
And listening to you describing those, what you have to deal with, you and your partner kind of regularly, the amount of energy that you have to expend in dismantling really traditional, really old-fashioned gender roles. I can imagine that at points feels really exhausting. And like you say, you want to be able to get on with doing the caring. That's why you've decided to be foster carers, not so
Yeah.
you can spend all your time re-educating people, which feels it feels a bit farcical, doesn't it, that we're still having to have these conversations about gender roles and some of those examples you've just described. Thank you for sharing. So the next question is for us to think about a little bit about the kind of the history of the LGBTQ plus rights movement, which is obviously kind of ever changing, but that there still does need to be a rights movement, that, we still have a long way to go. You've obviously just kind of touched on that. So I just wondered if you wanted to just kind of explore some of that about maybe where you have touched on it, but where you've been involved in that movement, perhaps how that's impacted on your fostering or kind of other foster carers that you've worked with and supported.
Yeah, of course. So that, like, as you said, there's been many developments for the LGBT foster carers, but there's still many more that needs to come. Many foster agencies clearly want to engage with LGBT plus individuals as foster carers. Our community has a wealth of experience and understanding that can really support care for children, and we can really empathize with some of their experiences as well. You'll now often see like foster agencies promoting their services at Pride events and being involved in Pride Month as well. And they're trying to increase visibility, and often agencies have between like 5 and 10% of their foster families are from the LGBT plus community, which is really great to see. And organizations like Proud to Parents, we're heavily involved in pushing for changes and raising awareness about the unique challenges faced by LGBT foster carers. And more research, thankfully, is being done all the time to look at the experiences of LGBT foster carers and obviously the outcomes for our children that are being cared for. And this data can really help and inform policy changes and highlight the areas where more support is needed. But we've got a long way to go, and there's still challenges, that we need to address. Despite the legal protections for LGBT foster carers, we can still see that sometimes there's a bias or discrimination, either overtly or subtly, um, in terms of like the assessment processes or our experiences, as I talked about, the microaggressions and gender roles that are often in the forefront of our experiences. And these still need to be tackled and dealt with and changed and developed. In some areas, cultural and societal attitudes towards LGBT plus individuals are still negative, and this can really impact fostering experiences. The system takes a long time to change and develop and grow, and sometimes worker attitudes can be outdated. So, even though the training in some areas is getting better, there needs to be a willingness for change as well to make foster agencies LGBT plus affirming. And organizations like Proud to Parents, we deliver a lot of training to foster agencies and adoption agencies to try and create this change, and develop it faster. But there needs to be that willingness, and more is being done all the time. And more specifically, there needs to be support put in place for LGBT foster carers who may experience unique challenges and unique experiences from the fostering system. And as you know, and we're in discussions about developing some practice guidance and reference to that, to try and ensure that there's those equitable changes for LGBT foster carers.
Absolutely. And just listening to you talking there. So I know that you and I have had this conversation that we are very pleased that the fostering data set now, which is the information collated by Ofsted as of April next year, April 2025, they will now be fostering agencies, fostering services will be collecting data on their foster carers who are LGBT plus, which is a significant change and great because you've been crying out for that information for a long time, haven't you?
Yeah.
And so that's really positive. But as you say, these things take time to kind of roll out. And for all these services and agencies and organizations to be kind of on board and equipped and supported and knowing what they're doing around that. You talked a bit about the assessment of foster carers, and you and I have been involved in the working group, which has been a long but brilliant piece of work. There's been 17 of us, haven't there, working over well over a year, where we were looking at the assessment, the Form F, which is one assessment, a very widely used assessment of how to prospective foster carers. And we've been working on that revision, which is currently being piloted, where we've absolutely endeavoured. Your voice and others on that working group have been strong, I'm pleased to say, where we've thought really carefully about the assessment and whether the assessment process is as inclusive as it should be for our LGBTQ plus prospective foster carers. It's quite long to say, but so important. And we've spent real time, haven't we, thinking about language, terminology, thinking about how that assessing social worker might be able to get alongside, how that assessing social worker might think these carers have got additional challenges, additional barriers to be able to get to panel. And then at panel, that might be tricky in itself. So we've kind of thought about that quite a lot, haven't we? But as you
Yeah.
said, still work in progress.
It definitely is, but the developments of that Form F, is really where we need to be going, and the information that sits alongside of it to support the assessing social worker is crucial to allow them to, authentically see the people that are in front of them and allow those experiences, those challenges to come forward, so that people are going into it with their eyes open, that the foster carers that are sat in front of them are fully aware of their expectations and what they need to be doing, and that the agency are fully aware of what they're bringing to the table
Yeah.
and how they can help and support them along that journey, because we've all got baggage and that's perfectly fine. We've all got stuff, but
Yeah.
actually what we need is that stuff to be there, and we all to know it and to either work through it, work with it, use it to support the care for children. So yeah, I think it's that Form F is a really great development that is going to support many LGBT plus foster carers moving forward.
I hope so. I think so. I hope so. I think, yeah, I agree with you. As you know, I think the support element is key. And what that support looks like, that's a conversation, right? It's not about making assumptions and saying, oh, well, I'm going to be assessing these carers and I think they will need this because I assessed a gay couple or a lesbian couple or previously, so I know what these carers will need. It's always the conversation about the individuals in front of you, isn't it? And
Definitely,
saying,
yeah.
what will this look like for you, and kind of building that trust, which is essential during the assessment. But just having additional thought and sensitivity, and it's the caretaking, isn't it, of information, and understanding that discrimination happens, and and microaggressions happen, and they happen all the time, and we don't want those microaggressions and that discrimination to in any way put anybody off being a foster carer. So we've thought really hard about that, haven't we? We have
Yeah.
paid attention to it. Okay, so shall we move on then? Shall we have a think about how do you and your family celebrate Pride? What do you do? What does that look like? If you're happy to share a bit of that with us.
Yeah, of course. So when it comes to celebrating love and diversity and the power of our community, we make sure that our children in our care understand the significance of pride and what it means to us. Our son and the children that we care for, they often join in the various activities at Pride celebrations throughout the season, soaking up all the fun and excitement and activities and dances. They love a bit of voguing, and celebrate all the colours that are around them. And we use books like It Was the Night Before Pride to really give a deeper understanding of the historical context of why Pride is so important. We also have age appropriate conversations about the significant events that have happened across history, likes of Section 28 and the actual impact that has had on us. They understand these legislations in terms of bullying and knowing right from wrong, which is like a really powerful lesson for any children to know. And participating in Pride events is not just about having a good time, of course, it's about being
Mhm,
part of something bigger. It's about strolling through a lively city surrounded by people who embrace you for simply being yourself. And
mhm.
these experiences really teach children the value of authentically being yourself and accepting yourself as well. And those are the types of messages that we really want to instill in them. Because when you embrace yourself for the person that you are, you're going to contribute to a world of inclusivity and be compassionate to others and reminding them that love knows no boundary and that families come in all different shapes and sizes. And, that's the power of Pride. It really shows that message for the way it should be, that, everyone should be accepted for who they are.
Absolutely. Beautifully put. I'm not going to try and paraphrase what you've just said because you've just said it perfectly. Thank you.
Thanks.
So we're now thinking a bit about how to what you would expect as a foster carer, what we would want you to expect as a prospective foster carer, and then post approval, what you can expect from your fostering agency, your fostering service, the kind of the people that you will be working with when you're thinking about caring for a child or moving towards being approved to then care for a child. So I guess just any ideas or suggestions, thoughts you've got around that?
It's a bit of advice, really, for anybody that's thinking about it. I suppose for me, it's about ensuring that you are realistic in your expectations of
Mm.
becoming a foster carer. I think we all potentially go into it a little bit with our eyes a little bit shut in terms of how it's going to roll on a day-to-day basis. But what we need to understand is that it may take time for the child that's come to you to adjust to their new environment, that they may not initially or ever express their gratitude or happiness to being pleased with you. And be prepared to offer like patience and understanding, unconditional support as that child navigates their journey. And, it's it's a difficult journey, but the rewards of seeing them start to flourish, see them start to work through the trauma that they've experienced, to see them opening up and that attachment maybe growing, is the reason why many of us do this job, because we can see those developments and changes in the children that we're caring for, and also giving in them those experiences. When the children that are in care with us first came to us, what, 4 years ago, they had, well, one of them had two wishes. So he was 5 when he first came to us, and his two wishes was he wanted to read, and not just read because he had to, but read for fun. And he also wanted to go on a plane. And thankfully, over the last 4 years, we've been able to give them those opportunities to see the world and to read. And he now can read, and read for fun and read different things. And he loves that opportunity that's been opened up to him. And it's really lovely that we've been able to tick those boxes and give him those experiences. And one of the other things I think is really important for foster carers is that opportunity to come together, that opportunity to share experiences, to talk to others, and um, have that no hold back conversation. And
Mm.
when you have the opportunity to speak to other LGBT foster carers, because our nuances of challenges are different, maybe our cultural experiences are slightly different, it's nice to be able to sit and have those conversations with other LGBT foster carers. So I would always say to people to try and seek out others, because it's really important that you're with your community at times to share and bat ideas and also be validated for your experience too.
Yeah, I think really important listening to that bit of advice. Thank you. So just we know from the work we do at Core and Bath and obviously conversations you and I have had that foster carers are absolutely brilliant at supporting one another, but you do need to know where those other foster carers are. So it's almost about having that conversation with your supervising social worker, isn't it, or somebody else in a fostering service, saying, you know, I wonder if I could be connected with, I'd really like to connect with other foster carers that identify as LGBT plus, because like you've just described, those conversations provide such a huge amount of support, and a space that feels safe, where you can kind of let your shoulders down, not feel like you're going to have to be in a position of kind of correcting the gender kind of traditional
Yeah,
stereotypes and so on. I mean, you may have to, but it will be different. It will be different. It will be more accepting, more understanding, and more kind of sharing of those experiences in a, yeah, like I say, in a kind of safe way. So I suppose I would just urge people listening to this, in the same way you've just said, to just seek out those opportunities. If they're not, if you're fostering in an area and you're not sure where those other carers are, ask the questions. Is there a support group? Could we set up a session or a meeting to bring carers together to see if there's a desire, a need for a support group? Would that be helpful? Would that be useful? Always ask those questions. You know,
yeah, I think
always,
that's a really good point. That
because
to have,
it might just be meeting, it might be meeting in someone's home, it might be going for a walk, it might be going to a cafe. Obviously, you've got to be careful about confidentiality, but it is about bringing people together, right, and not
yeah.
feeling isolated, because that's something we want to reduce that for any foster carer, but especially this community.
Definitely, because like our IFA that I work for, they have their own LGBT plus support group. So we meet every 6 weeks online, and we can all sit and have the opportunity to share and chat. And either it's just talking about our experiences, or we're doing things, we're developing stuff within the agency to
Mm.
progress it and move it forward. So, we've been involved in writing together a pride letter to send out to all fostering households, just to say why it's so important that we do that. And they've sent out a fridge magnet saying all is welcome here, so that any children that come into our households can see straight off the bat that there's an LGBT flag on the fridge which says all is welcome here, so that if they feel like they are identifying, that they can open up to their foster carers and have those conversations. And we've done other things like write and writing like top 10 tips and all those different things. So it's a really good opportunity to come together and share, or just have a good old moan if necessary.
All of the above. I love the fridge magnet and the letter, and how,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
cute, and
and those examples of co-production, right, which gets talked a lot about, must co-produce, but so important that the voice of your group of carers that you've just referred to are leading that and directing that, so that know how it will land and how it will be received. And yeah, brilliant, love it.
yeah, definitely. But there's also obviously organizations like New Family Social or like Proud to be Parents, who, we provide support and resources and advocacy for all LGBT plus parents and carers, regardless of the route to parenthood. So, there's those different opportunities where you can link into organizations and gain support through social media, and different webinars that we put on, or workshops, etc. So there's all those things that are around if it's not local to you as well.
Yeah, good point. And actually, as well, I suppose there's something about not everybody wants to be part of a support group, right?
Of course, yeah.
So some people will, in the way you've just described, will absorb information, or want to seek out kind of, just some perhaps resources or some training by doing it online. And of course, whichever way people want to access that information, it does exist. Sometimes it might be not terribly easy to find, but it is there. So I suppose we would just urge people, wouldn't we, to get in touch with Proud to be Parents, with New Family Social, with Cor Bath, with loads of other organisations, and just see what they have available. And if they don't have what you're looking for, they're probably going to be able to signpost.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
at least start. Yeah. Okay, so we've just got, I think, a couple more questions now. So just moving on now to another question, Matt. How important is it for foster care services, foster care agencies, to actively promote inclusivity? And how important is it, and how can they do that?
Yeah, well, it's really important, isn't it, that foster agencies are all about inclusivity and diversity? Because, when you think about it, when agencies are inclusive, they are making a real effort to reflect the real world around them, and that means having like a mixture of people from different backgrounds and identities involved in the whole process. Plus, when an agency is on board with diversity, they can meet the needs of all sorts of children and families. That might mean providing extra support for different cultures or languages and make sure that everyone feels safe and accepted no matter who they are. And so it's not just about doing the right thing. It's legally or ethically, although that's like really important, of course. But inclusivity, it helps agencies to stay on top of on top of their game and ensure that they reflect everybody that's involved in a child's life. It means that they're always learning and that they're always growing, and it's about making sure that they are offering the best care possible for not only the children but also their foster carers. And I think it's just, it's really important that they recognize that, because often it's like an added extra. So EDI stuff, equality, diversity, and inclusion, is sometimes there's like an added extra strategy or an added extra thing that they need to be doing. But actually, when it's woven into all elements of their work, it's really powerful, because then it's a true reflection of the community that you're working with, the community that you're serving, and then everybody's involved, everyone's included, and everyone's recognized, because we've moved slightly over the last few years from equality to equity, and that
Mm,
is a real powerful shift, because when we look at it from an equity perspective, you are making those subtle changes to practice, changes to things to meet the person's needs that are in front of you. And for a long time, we didn't do that because we wanted everyone to be treated the same. But we've moved on from that, and we need to recognize that we've all got different stuff. We've all got different baggage. We've all got different things that we need addressing, to just make the changes to practice to ensure that that happens. And that's how I feel about it.
that's great. Thank you. Really brilliantly described. And so there is something about seeing yourself, seeing oneself, whether that's in the kind of promotional, the imaging, the workforce, other foster carers, there's that bit. But like you said, it goes beyond that. It goes beyond what do you particularly need? What does that look like? So yeah, not just making this a kind of trying to make it a level playing field, because that isn't how we are. We're all so different, aren't we? We're all so
Yeah.
different with so many different elements to our identity and phases in our life when we might need something more than we need something else, whatever that looks like. So there is I think we're getting there, but like we've established, we've still got more we can do. But that's great, because we're having these conversations, right? And we're working together in partnerships all across the sector wherever we can.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think now, just looking to our last question, which is just thinking about, so we've talked a bit about progressing, or we've talked quite a lot about that as we've been discussing. What hopes do you have for the future of fostering within the LGBTQ plus community? And any other thoughts around kind of positive change in this space?
Yeah, of course. So, as we keep moving forward, as we said, things are progressing and things are developing and changing, which is great. But there is things that still need to happen. So I've got some big hopes, for the future of fostering within the LGBT plus community. First off, I hope to see more acceptance and support for LGBT plus individuals and couples who want to foster. It's all about breaking down barriers and giving everyone a chance to provide a loving home for a child that's in need. And it's really important that we give that opportunity. I also hope that we can see resources and greater uptake of training specifically geared towards the inclusion of LGBT plus foster carers. You know, if we have the training, if we have the understanding, then we can do the right things and have the extra input or knowledge that can make a huge difference to the families that we're seeing in front of us, and to help them to thrive as well and be the best for the children that they're caring for. Um, Proud to Parents, we offer a variety of training about the inclusion of LGBT plus individuals in whatever way that may be, as fostering, adoption, parenting in general. And, what we get fed back is that thing of what you don't know, you don't know. So you need
Mhm.
to know it. And many of us haven't had those types of LGBT plus training. So we haven't had a conversation around community language or terminology for a long, long time. And so it's that opportunity to come together with the team to reflect, discuss, plan and move forward. And it's really key and really beneficial to our families. I also hope for continued progress in terms of legal protection and anti-discriminatory policies. We've
Mhm.
come a long way, but there's still work to be done, and sadly, sometimes it feels like we're going back. And we hope that that doesn't continue. We need to be moving forward to ensure that there's equitable policies that where everyone can be treated with respect, moving forward. And as for how things can happen, it's going to take a lot of advocacy,
Mm.
education, and probably the biggest thing is allyship. We need people to speak up. We need people to ensure that LGBT plus conversations are on the table, that rights are being talked about, that people are challenging stereotypes and creating spaces where people can be truly, authentically themselves. And that's probably one of the biggest things because when that can happen, then LGBT foster carers can do their best in terms of their caring. And at the heart of it is our children that we're caring for. We're wanting to create safe, loving, and affirming homes for them to thrive, grow, and develop.
Fantastic. And a really lovely note to end on, I think. Yeah, focusing it back, centraling the children as we have throughout this conversation. But that's the key. If you've got foster carers that feel supported, understood, seen, acknowledged, respected,
Yeah.
celebrated, then they can be their best selves. That doesn't mean they have to be all day, every day, because they are beautifully human, thankfully. But they can be their best selves for the children that they're caring for, right? And that
Definitely.
allyship, I think, feels really important because as social work practitioners, as people working across the sector, other foster carers, various people working around a child, we will see things, we will hear things. And the allyship is just about, it can be gentle, it can be it can be noticing something, checking in with someone afterwards. It doesn't have to be a kind of publicly calling out. That can be what allyship looks like,
Hmm.
but it can also be the more subtle, can't it? Just checking in. I noticed that. Did that language land for you like it did for me? How did that make you feel? What is there something we can do? Do those people need a bit of educating or a bit of awareness raising or a bit of training or what does, it as long as we're being active and not passive, as long as we're not just noticing but then doing in response, then we will keep moving. We won't just get kind of stuck of thinking this is all terrible but it can't change, because we can. Individuals can just do tiny changes like that, can't they? And
Definitely.
yeah, really, really brilliant to have this conversation. Thank you, Matt, so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for talking to us. And we look forward to having more conversations with you in the future.
Thank you for
Um,
having me. I really appreciate it. It's a great opportunity just to sit and chat about things that I'm really passionate about. So thank you for having us. And yeah, hopefully we can have a conversation again about something else.
absolutely. And happy Pride, Matt, to you and your partner and your family. Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.